Hello and welcome. Here I'm going to introduce to you whole brain teaching and the effects it has on English language learners. My name is Kelly Fox and this is my research project. The whole brain teaching movement was discovered by a college professor named Chris Biffle in 1999. Since then, the method has gained popularity as an instructional approach in classrooms from ages kindergarten to college level. The purpose of incorporating a variety of techniques during one lesson is to tap into the different parts of the whole brain to support the students' different learning styles and for the brain to be trained and improved. The neuroscience research that has been done on whole brain activity concludes that memory is not stored in one area of the brain, but rather both the left and right hemispheres. Therefore, stemming from neuroscience research, whole brain teaching theorists have integrated science data findings with education to adapt a platform for engaging multiple parts of the student's brain when teaching and multiple pathways of learning. Whole brain learning is centered around the idea that every brain is unique and not every student learns the same way. Whole brain learning is different than traditional learning because it is not based around memorization, but rather gives the experience meaning. As learning becomes fun, interactive, and unique, students become attentive to the subject matter and their performance improves. When whole brain teaching is being used, this promotes new ways of thinking, understanding, and provides multiple pathways for learning. One of the many objectives for ELLs, according to the English Language Development Standards of California, otherwise known as ELD, is to interact in meaningful ways by exchanging information and ideas with others through oral collaborative conversations on a range of social and academic topics. Also, another standard is interacting with others in written English in various communicative forms, such as print, communicative technology, and multimedia. On account of the California State Standards for English Language Development, whole brain teaching collaborates with ELD standards by designing to keep students in the classroom engaged, participating, and active throughout the whole lesson. This strategy is effective for not only all students in the classroom, but for ELLs learning a new language. Maximizing student engagement and decreasing challenging student behaviors is an intended outcome of the whole brain teaching strategies. This strategy engages students, provides gestures that match new vocabulary words, and brings students to exchange information with one another. As students practice new vocabulary and repeat after the teacher. The purpose of this study is to discuss findings on whole brain teaching and how it can be beneficial, specifically for English language learners' academic success. It will also cover the perceptions from teachers on whole brain teaching. The focus of this study is to gain more insight on whole brain teaching and its effects on ELL language acquisition. To conduct an evaluation on whole brain teaching instruction and the effects it has on English language learners, one question will be asked throughout the research project. What is the impact of whole brain instruction on English language learners' language acquisition? To conduct an evaluation on whole brain teaching instruction and the effects it has on English language learners, one question will be used. What is the impact of whole brain instruction on ELL language acquisition? The significance of this study is to address the research behind whole brain teaching and how it can be used effectively in classrooms to enhance academic achievement within a diverse population of English language learners. However, it is a new instructional strategy and very little research has been conducted on the long-term effects of academic achievement. The purpose of the study is to raise awareness of instructional practices used in the mainstream classroom that enhances the process of language acquisition regarding ELL language skills for the learners. Teaching English language learners. Studies have shown that ELLs are successful if the learning process of teaching English is strongly influenced by the teacher's knowledge of the content and the way they deliver the instruction. Recent research on ELL's understanding of vocabulary in a general education classroom shows when the application of a variety of methodologies and teaching strategies that focus specifically on the acquisition of instructional approaches and sufficient vocabulary resources, student successes enhances. This includes use of technology, visuals, pair or group work, and engaging with materials through multiple ways. By applying their developing language skills to enrich academic content, ELLs deepen their understanding of the content using multiple means of engagement, representation, and expression. TPR, Total Physical Response. TPR is a language learning technique that is based on the coordination of body language in order to convey ideas from both the teacher and the student. When new vocabulary is introduced, teachers make hand gestures or motions to go along with the word. This technique brings the students to engage more verbally and for teachers to eliminate their verbal engagement, driving students' activities up and teachers' engagement down. When a hand gesture is provided for every vocabulary word, the teacher will watch and repeat what was said using the same gestures and saying the words out loud, just by visual cues. TPR works well when teaching vocabulary, explaining actions, storytelling, and narrative language, as well as imperatives and classroom language. The natural approach. The natural approach Utilizing the natural approach during classroom instruction consists of many opportunities for the ELL student to mirror the process of learning a new language. The theory focuses on teaching communicative abilities rather than memorizing and reciting language structures. The idea essentially is that the second language acquisition is basically the same as the first language acquisition, which includes the importance of comprehensible input and promoting a positive effect on the learning process. Today, the natural approach seems to have been absorbed into what is generally known as humanistic teaching practices in whole language learning. The important aspect of the natural approach is that there is not a grammar agenda, except that the learner performs the task to the best of their ability. This section will discuss the theories behind whole brain learning and the existing research on the method. The first theory that backs up whole brain teaching is the True Brain Theory. The True Brain Theory was created by Paul MacLean, a neuroscience researcher who separates the brain into three functional regions: physical and environmental, emotional and attitudinal, and mental, each being responsible for a specific area of mental activities. The three specific regions of the brain are basal ganglia, flight, the limbic system, which is the emotional response, and the neocortex, which is the rational thinking area. In education, traditional teaching has been directed to use only the left hemisphere of the brain, the neocortex. Today, new learning techniques have been directed to use all three areas of the brain to maximize student engagement. Multiple intelligences. Howard Gardner of Harvard University discovered 7 ways in which a student processes different types of intelligences: through language, logical mathematical analysis, spatial representation, music, the use of body to create or solve problems, an understanding of others, and an understanding of oneself. Gardner says that these differences challenge an educational system that assumes that everyone can learn the same materials in the same way, and that a uniform, universal measure suffices to test student learning. Indeed, as currently constituted, our educational system is heavily biased toward linguistic modes of instruction and assessment, and to a somewhat lesser degree towards logical quantitative modes as well. The multiple intelligence theory states that each person learns differently and different intelligences are used in their daily lives. Educators who have utilized this method in their classroom have positively responded to Gardner's theory. Whole brain teaching uses different parts of the brain during lessons through the 7 core techniques. The first one is the class yes, which is the attention getter. The second is the classroom rules, which is the organizer. The third is hands and eyes, which is the focuser. The third is teach okay, which is the whole brain activator. Mirror words is the class unifier. Switch is the involver, and the scoreboard, which is the motivator. These 7 components focus on the way the brain is really designed to learn and uses each quadrant of the brain and their distinct clusters of cognitive functions. Within the specialized clusters of learning, they each have their own language, different ways to solve problems, and remember information that is unique to the quadrant. Another aspect of whole brain teaching is managing the emotions of students, as this teaching strategy heightens emotional responses. When students are excited for a lesson, research has proved that their ability to recall information is higher than if students are disengaged. Other factors that contribute to the brain's ability to retain, process, and receive information is ensuring a positive relationship with students, providing a safe environment, and ensuring that students' basic needs are met. Meeting these basic needs reduces stress and anxiety for students while enhancing the student's ability to process information when the environment feels safe. Whole brain teaching and English language learners. The techniques used in whole brain teaching are incredibly simple and get students to think actively at all times. The first technique, class yes, gets students' attention quickly by getting their brains ready to listen. For example, the teacher says, "Oh, class, class," and students repeat, "Oh, yes, yes," and the students know they need to be ready to hear the next instruction. Class yes uses simple English words that ELL's students will be able to understand and learn quickly. Participants and setting. The study will be conducted at Woodlake Elementary School in Sacramento, California. Woodlake is located north of Sacramento and is a kindergarten through 6th grade elementary school. During the school year of 2017 to 2018, 439 students were enrolled at Woodlake Elementary, and 16.4% of that population were EL students. Class sizes range from 22 to 32 students in the classroom, with 2 classes per grade level. Woodlake offers a comprehensive curriculum that includes English language instruction, after-school tutoring, and English language department and special education services. An email invitation will be sent to 14 teachers at Woodlake Elementary School to determine teacher interest in participating in the whole brain teaching teacher group. Teachers who respond to the email will be invited to an intentional informational meeting that provides the stated purpose of the study and their agreement to reflect, collaborate, and discuss perceptions of whole brain teaching based on what they experience. Instruments. The data resources used in this study includes focus group meetings, reflective journals, and a checklist, a questionnaire, and 2 specific lesson plans teachers must follow. It must be noted that the researcher did not observe the lessons in the classroom, but rather chose instruments for participants to reflect, collaborate, and discuss perceptions of whole brain teaching based on their experience in the classroom. Instruments. The first instrument was a lesson plan. 2 lessons plans were provided and covered in the first month of training. The first lesson plan is the whole brain teaching core techniques in which teachers need to be familiar with, and the second lesson plan is an outline of how to use the whole brain teaching techniques incorporated into a content. Focus group meetings. For 2 weeks, the teachers who participate in this study will meet 3 times after school for 1 hour to discuss perceptions surrounding implementation of whole brain teaching strategies. The meetings will be held in the teacher's lounge or on a participant's classroom as the students are dismissed at the end of the day. Teachers will bring their reflective journals and any questions they have pertaining to the experience with whole brain teaching. The meeting will start with one of the reflective questions found in the questionnaire to give the participants an opportunity to discuss their responses with the group. On the third focus group meeting, a questionnaire will be given to the participants at the end of the session, and they have a week to email or turn into the school office for the researcher to collect. The questionnaire is instructed to be filled out privately and with their honest input. This questionnaire will allow the researcher to improve themselves as experimenters. Data collection. First data collection is the individual reflective journal protocol analysis. Qualitative data supplied through the reflective journals will provide information that only the teacher observes in the classroom. This information will help other members of the study understand how each whole brain teaching instructional strategy works differently in each classroom, depending on the needs of students, and how this approach is meant to be adjusted according to the needs of the students. The second data collection is the focus group meeting protocol analysis. The focus group questions will help researchers understand what was valuable and helpful during the lesson and what was not. It will also help teachers deepen their understanding of what their ELL students need more of during a whole brain teaching lesson, and what strategies work best. The questionnaire. The results from the questionnaire will be used for the researcher to understand from participants perceptions of how the study was successful and what needs to be changed or added in order to conclude valid data. It will also give both the researcher and teachers more insight of how whole brain teaching works and if it should or should not be utilized in a classroom with ELL students. Data analysis. The research question will be answered by analyzing qualitative data collected from reflection journals, weekly focus group meetings, and one-on-one evaluation meetings. The researcher will follow Tech's 8-step process offered in Creswell's writing on qualitative methods to interpret and analyze data findings in the study. One of the 8 steps state, begin by reading all of the responses and arranging the data into different types depending on the responses and reflect on its overall meaning. Procedure. The timeline for the study will be 2 months, starting the beginning of January 2020 and ending the beginning of March 2020. The first month, the study will conduct group meetings once a week for 45 minutes, educating teacher participants on whole brain teaching with Chris Biffle's resource book, and conduct discussions around English language students specifically for this study. The second month, teachers then use what they have learned on whole brain teaching and apply it to their teaching practices. They will be given 2 weeks to conduct at least 3 lessons with whole brain teaching strategies. During these 2 weeks, teachers will meet 3 times as a focus group to go over reflection journals, participate in discussions, and answer questions. The 3rd and 4th week are for teachers to turn in their questionnaire and meet with the researcher one-on-one to discuss how they believe the study went, if they plan to utilize whole brain teaching again in their teaching instruction, and what they would have done differently. Thank you so much for joining me on my presentation on whole brain teaching and how it can benefit English language learners' language acquisition. If you want more research, go to www.wholebrainteaching.com. There are resources provided and lots of information. Thank you.